The hustle cap. This is not fashion. This is like the hustle is real cap. So, a lot of people say, "Oh, why were you wearing the same thing for 2 days?" I said, "It's the hustle. When you hustle, you forget about what you're wearing." But okay, welcome to day 5. This is the Hustle series where we tell the work in progress stories, where we try to use our stories to encourage, to engage, and most importantly, to help another hustle hero up. A hustle hero is someone who keeps his head down, one step at a time, going through life and pushing barriers and trying to be the best version of themselves. And then along the line, they're picking up experiences, and along the line, they're winning battles. Now, this avenue is for those kind of people without popularity, without any kind of celebrity status, to come tell us their work in progress story. And guess what? The best part of this avenue is they're nowhere near where they want to be. So what they will be describing or telling us today is just their version of their hustle. And hopefully for someone out there, for myself or whoever is listening, might be able to pick one or two things they did in that time and then apply to their hustle. And then together we can raise as much hustle heroes as possible. So that's what we're about. They're nowhere near perfect. Absolutely not. They don't have an MBE to their name, nor do they have a CBE. So they're just the regular day-to-day, jumping on the train, getting in the car, and jumping into their hustle. So, with no much more further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring in our guest for today. When he comes in, I will introduce him. But for now, just give me a second. I would have played music, but somebody said the music is doing something to them, so let me respect myself and stop the music. So this always happens. I think I need a PA. Okay. All right. So who are we going in with? Are we ready? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to bring in our guest for today. All right. Let me see the cup. Keep calm. Correct. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This quintessential gentleman is our guest for today. He has a very long CV, but I'll try to summarize it. As you know, he smiles a lot, very, very frequently. I present to you Mr. Oluwaseyi Babatunde. He's an e-commerce connoisseur, a professional at making money online. He's a jagaban of eBay, Amazon. He squeezes every ounce of e-commerce on those platforms. He's a serial property investor, a digital nomad, if you know what that means. Somebody who drinks and sleeps and drives digital. He's the founder of the Sanctuary Orphanage in Nigeria, where they help young kids, kids in school. They provide scholarships and create opportunities to better their lives through education. So there's a whole lot more I can say about you, but I'm going to allow you to speak for yourself at the time. So you're very welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you, and thanks for accepting to do this, because I know naturally you never want to come out of your corner. So
I like to be in my shell, keep into myself, but we have to honor the IV from the Lord Bionic himself.
I'm privileged, sir. So please, please in the comments, if you're with us, can you just let me know if you can hear my guests? Please, I just need someone to write in the comment box so that we're not just talking to ourselves, sir. All right, can you hear me? Can you hear the guest? Okay. All right, people are still joining. Okay, fantastic. Somebody very close says she can hear you, so that's fine. We can hear you. All right, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I present to you my guest for today, the hustle hero for the moment. So, as we always say, for those who have joined us before today, we always start with this one question. What exactly is your hustle story?
Where, uh, where do you want me to begin?
Anyway, I begin from the beginning.
All right, all right. Okay. Obviously, my name is Oluwaseyi Babatunde, popularly known as Olus. For those who know me very well. Basically, this also story began, I would precisely say Nigeria. I was born in England, but obviously, my dad and my mom went back to Nigeria in the 80s, was taken back as a baby. But I want to lay emphasis, obviously, my dad, a lot of my traits, or a lot of who I've become, is a combination of my dad and my mom. So my background, my dad is an insurance basically, audit, audit specifically, he's an accountant, but auditing. My mom worked for the Nigerian customs, but she was a caterer. So she
Okay.
used to head the catering unit. So it's a combination of both. So growing up basically in Nigeria, two-bedroom flat, back in Mautu, if you know Mautu very well, in Festac area.
I'm about two people.
That's where I grew up. Obviously, hustling and bustling the streets of Nigeria. But one of the key things I actually remember, and one of this, the foundation that was laid to me at a very, very young age. I think my wife's comment is distracting.
Tell her not to distract you.
Great.
Yeah.
One of the key foundations that was laid in those, and I remember very well. And if you, I'm not sure, especially with Nigerian parents or with Nigerian fathers, I remember vividly in my teenage years when my dad was building his property. They always overbuild their property, build a five-bedroom house that they're not never going to live in. And obviously, my dad was building a five-bedroom house and a two, three-bedroom flat. Okay, to invest to rent out. But what it is was what I was learning at that age is my dad would take. We were four. I was born into a family of five. I was number four. Especially with the boys, it would take us to the site at 14, at 15. Instead of my dad getting bricklayers to arrange the bricks, arrange the blocks, or supply with the blocks, what my dad would say to you boys is, okay, I'll pay you, I think, 2 naira per block. Go and arrange it. So every Saturday, I mean, four brothers. We were always like, okay, when are we going to the site to get paid? So basically, they will take us to the site. We will arrange the block. At the end of the day, my dad will say to us, "This is what you earn," and basically invest that money into a bank account. We all had an investment banking account then, and every single month, he will print out the statement and say to you, "Your money has grown from X Y to X Y Z." I didn't really understand what he was doing, but growing up, that actually stuck to me and that laid a foundation. And when I start talking about investment, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm not qualified to talk about it. So anything you hear from this forum, let's lay a disclaimer. If you use it, it's just for your own good or
Um,
whatever you want to do. So those foundations were laid at a very early stage to say, you know what, earn money, invest money. This is what you are earning in return. You are not really doing anything with that money. The money is sitting down there. Your money has grown by 10 naira, 20 naira, 30 naira as you begin to grow. The other side of the story, I think I'll just jump to it. And I think later down the years, around about 16, 17, when I finished secondary school in 1996. But obviously, like every other person, jammed me.
how many times? Now,
But
now,
I did my jam. Well, I passed on the third attempt, but prior to that, I had to go to Polytechnic because so I did my first jam in SS2, failed. Did jam in SS3 as well, failed. But by the time I came out of SS3, did my Polytechnic, went to Ibadan Poly. But I did while I was at Ibadan Poly, I retook the jam, passed. But I made up my mind. I was 1999. I was in year two, ND2, studying mechanics. And I told my dad and my mom, and I said, you know what? Can you hand me my passport? It was time for me to leave. Now, this is coming from someone that I really don't, I'm one of the kids that I don't trouble my parents. But I had a clear vision and understanding it was time for me to leave Nigeria. And, we struggled for about 6 months. My dad said, "You're not going." And I said, "Okay, I'm not going." And every Nigerian parent, I became a rebel. I said, "You know what? I'm not going back to Badapoli. Do your worst." And I've never stood in front of my dad to say to him, "Oh, when you hear Baba Kwadi, my dad was notorious. He was, when you hear his name, yeah, you know, you just disappear." But I spoke to my mom, got a one-way ticket out of Nigeria, July 26, 1999. Obviously left Nigeria for England, and you know that's when they also started.
All
Really.
right. All right. Before we jump into how they also started, it's great to know that the value your parents and all of that put into you, because that's super great. So for some of us, we learned the hard way. Let's just put it that way. For some people, that investment, when you said investment, just reminds me of all the money that people used to give me when they come visit our home, and it
Mhm.
was supposed to go into an account, and
Yeah.
when you decide to draw out of that account, they begin to tell you that, don't you eat in this house, or don't you drink? All right, so um, now you got to the point. My question is, what got you to that point of saying, hand me my passport? What was what was the trigger point?
I think for me, one of the things for me is I tend to listen a lot to my inner man, whether you want to call it intuition, whether you want to call it spiritual, whether you want to call it whatever you want to call it. It's up to you. Because I gather there's not only Christians on this forum. So I just had this nudge in my spirit that it was time to leave. And it's never happened. Yes, I knew they always call me Tokumbo Britico, Britico. I've always had the passport. I always go and check my passport under the bed just to make sure it was there. Because that's where your parents always hide it. So, but I just thought it was time for me to leave. And you can call it the spirit of the living God, because I was already born again. So I had the nudge to leave. And I just thought, it was time to leave Nigeria.
Sorry for me to journey on this, because now you have the nudge to leave. I'm just trying to picture, and again, for people, there are people in Nigeria listening to us,
Yeah.
and might be at that point where they're thinking this or that, but how that conversation with your dad, going to meet your dad and saying, hand me my passport, and when he probes further, you just want to go.
Yeah.
How did that end? Did you guys fall out, or
No, I've never followed up with and because for me, I think my dad understood that, what, this guy, it's something, this is out of the, well, should I say out of the ordinary? I've never done something like that before. I was managing my mom's bakery, while I was in Nigeria. If I was back from school, I was doing that. So I was always around money. If I wanted to buy the ticket, I would have gone to store the passport. I know where the passport is. But I just said to him, I think it was the right thing for me to do that. That I wanted to leave. And although, yes, my dad was like, you're not leaving. I said, you know what, I wanted to leave. But in the end, he had a conversation with my mom, because that, what, she wants to leave. But they call me Bobo. Bobo wants to leave for England. And I understand my dad, because my dad was in England for about 8 years. And he always tell us a story. Bobo, I work for the London Rail. From London Rail, I'm going to school. It's not as easy as what you think. And I said, well, if it's not as easy, let me go and experience it for myself. And, though I'm the old, I have my story to tell now.
all right, all right. So you finally get your passport, and
Yeah.
then you I'm sure they give you ticket money, or you found your ticket money. So let's cut to you landing in Heathrow. So tell take us on this journey.
So I arrived in England on 27th of July, 1999. My brother, my older brother, the firstborn, who came into England in 1998, which was like about 6, 7 months before they picked me up from the airport. And we go on the Bakerloo line all the way, all the way to Camberwell. Got to the apartment. He was living with my auntie. I joined him there as well, sleeping on the in the living room.
So you left you left your palatial bed in Nigeria to come
Yeah,
and sleep in the living room.
yeah.
Okay, so where is that where real life kicked in for you?
Well, that's where the journey started. So I think I arrived in England on a Tuesday. So by Saturday, I started my first job. I'm
What was
trying to.
that?
Well, this is where the it become interesting. So if you, a lot of people that know me, if you've known me for a very long time, you will notice that you saw me straight away from catering, and a lot of people are like, how did that happen? So my auntie had a catering business. So basically, okay, we just went to buy the trousers, black trousers, white top. Saturday, I started working with them at the in the catering business. Saturday, Sunday, mostly I was with them, and in about £5, £6 an hour. And then by the following month, Smith Farm, I started working in WA Smith. So within the space of a week and a half, I already started with two jobs. So that's where my also spirit started. So
So now that you're working, because I know you're into a lot of things. So you're now working in WH Smith. What for you kept? Were you ever satisfied with that role, especially because you were new in the country? Some people will be like, you know what, the fact that I'm actually even earning is okay for now. What was your headspace like at that time?
so I had a few goals because obviously I was just 19 going on 20. So I wanted to fulfill my so-called my parents or the family goal to make sure, okay, I go back to uni, I am studying, because obviously firstborn was a biochemist, second was a civil engineer, third was studying geology. When we left, I didn't want to be the black sheep, you know. So I came in July. It was too late to enter for UCAS. So the first thing we did was to look for, I'm not sure if you have ever heard of IMIS, which is Institute of Management Information System, registered for the diploma, which is basically IT based, registered for the diploma starting in the September. But having said that, I started working. So I was paying my school fees. So I wasn't taking any loan. I wasn't taking any grant. Yeah, fair enough. Accommodation was free for me because shortly after my brother moved from my auntie's house, and I moved in with him, so accommodation was free for me. So all my brother said to me is, you know what, that's your box room. It was a box room then when I moved in with him. Sort yourself out. Okay, I'm not asking you to pay for anything, but
Yeah.
sort yourself out. So for me, working, yeah, as a Taylor in WS Smith and working weekend as catering was a means to pay my education, which was studying. It was more like a professional exams, which was IMIS. I was going to college, which is practically about 2 to 3 days a week, and the rest was hustling, basically.
So, what is interesting with all the stories we've heard to date is, it's the similar humble beginnings. I hear people say that London or the UK, or when you come into the Western world, it has a way of making you start from the beginning all over again. In terms of if it doesn't intimidate you, it takes you a bit of time before you join up. When I came in, I was working with the Red Cross. We stay at the train station, but but I think that your story and the stories we've heard are almost synonymous in that humble beginning. So between when you came in and that time, what would you say your lowest point was? Or
I think for me, at that point, my main focus or my main drive was, you know, I was 19, so um, well, I didn't really have that much friends because I was occupied with work, but working and going to uni. So I, I'm one of those that I like my company, so I wasn't suffering from any down point then. My main aim was to say, okay, you know what, let's crack on with this, get my uni sorted. Um, Even though between 1999 and 2002, I ended up having to just focus on IMIS. I was basically paying. I mean, within those 3 years, I became Cisco qualified. I became Microsoft qualified. I was A plus certified. So for me, I was those 3 years was the foundation of my my path, I would say, in the UK. So I was literally driven. So I had no time. So if I tell you today, in my 20 years of being in the UK, I've only probably stepped into the club once. You would think I'm lying, but those times, that's what I was doing. Basically driven by work, uni, money, and that's it. I didn't see anything else, 7 days a week. So even church then, in the first 3 years, I wasn't even really going to church. I only started going to church in 2000 and late 2002. That's how I was occupied. 7 days a week, that's it, nothing else. So
Okay.
no downtime for low point at all.
Well, I can recall gladly that you're happily married, sir. Am I right, sir?
Well, I am.
So within all of this, no time. Time
Well,
is
well. I mean, the story changed down the line, but I think those 3 years was a foundation for me. And I decided, you know what, I need to go to uni to finish my degree. So I decided, okay, in 2002, I decided, okay, let me go back to uni. I was offered business information technology in University of Greenwich, coming out year two. But I said, you know what, I wanted to study computer science. All right. But I took the offer to go back to year one and study computer science. To be honest, even today, even though I look at myself, I probably should have taken BIT because my life today it's about the business side of IT. I'm not interested in the so-called programming or network, or which I thought I thought that was the line I was going to be. Well, I thought I was going to be a network engineer, and that's why I did what I needed to do. So
okay.
by 2002, and this is where the story gets interesting, I became tired of working for somebody. I knew that, you know what, I want to do my own thing. So this is why when I see young folks now talking about, oh, I'm in uni and I still end up earning two, I came out with two. I asked them, what were you doing with your life? Because by 2002, I set up my first business. I called it Center Computer Systems. So I found a gap in the market. When you look at the solicitors that built up over the last probably so-called 18, 20 years, most of them started around the millennial era. So I found there was a gap in the market between the between 10 to 20 user office. They really didn't have a lot of IT support. They didn't have the money to pay for IT support.
Yeah.
So I set up my business to actually suit those customers. So my life changed in 2002. So I decided, okay, started uni. I went back, started my business in 2002. And what I did to kind of support that was to look for a night job as a care worker.
Okay.
And I was also still helping my auntie on the weekend to do their business. So I was doing four things in 2002.
Okay. So just to count it in, so you were a caterer,
Yeah,
you were a carer,
yeah,
you were an IT entrepreneur,
yep,
you were a student.
that's right. In
Okay.
2002.
Now, I know just quickly, and then we'll go on with the story.
Yep,
Like I said to my other guests, the hustle spirit cannot be bought in Asda. Neither
yep,
can you get it in Tesco or
yep,
you buy it in the corner shop.
yep.
For you doing 4 jobs at the same time with that tenacity, with that drive, where would you say that came from?
I think the foundation was it was family. It was for my parents and my dad and mom. So my mom was working for the custom, heading customs. If you know Tinkan Island very well, the catering section in Tinkan Island, that was my mother. She was running that, and also she had a bakery. All right, and my dad, it's an auditor, very hard man with money. So a fusion of both. That's where I came from, and I think sometimes you see the charitable side of me. Sometimes you see the very shrewd businessman. Sometimes you see the hard, stone cold person. So I'm a mixture of both. So that's where it came from. So I would say, my parents in a
So you,
nutshell.
so you are straight out of Nigeria, not from Compton. Yeah.
No, no.
So, so, so back to your story of you doing 4 jobs.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear you out and how that moved, and the different highs and lows of how you balance through that. So yeah.
So one of the key things I always say to people, even though I've talked about the first 3 years of my life, there are a few things I think that majorly two or three people I hold this credit to. It doesn't matter what people say. I might not talk about it. The first is my uncle. His name is Ebenezer. My second is my auntie, which is Auntie Wumi. And probably the third is my brother that has housed me without any stress. I will talk about him. I still call him my mentor. Even when he sees me, he calls me a young millionaire, my uncle. There's some principle that was laid at a very early stage of of me coming into the UK. And a lot of time, what you find is young folks when they come into this place, you mingle with the wrong set of people, or you don't find someone to advise you, and the way to go. For me, I got sound advice, and I was privileged to understand how to navigate the system. So in terms of being, setting up my business, I was put through to the right accountant. Funny enough, I've had my same account, well, not same, but they were friends, but I could say same accountant for the last 18 years. So my books are always on point. All right. So when it comes to inland revenue, you don't have inland revenue issues. So I always have a good accountant in the books. And for me also, think generally those are the people I owe it to. And obviously we can now start talking on how I built my
Yeah,
business empire.
absolutely. So now that you've been, God has been kind enough to bless you with these people in your life, help to mold you. Now that you're running 4 jobs, and how did that pine into property? How did that pine into you becoming permit me to say it is mortgage free and all of that? That for me is a journey. Okay,
So
yeah, I'm gonna go there. So
I think the journey started in 2020, 2004. I acquired my first property. So within the space of 5 years, coming into the UK, I bought my first property.
so,
Um,
so sorry to button. I just want to tarry a bit on the buying the first property. What was the trigger point, and how did you get there? If you can just run us through
so which is why I said I had the right people influencing my decisions, which is my uncle. And every time he sees me today, like I said to you, he calls me young millionaire because I kind of listen to him when it comes to the investment side of things. It's basically my go-to person. So in 2004, and this is what I say to young folks, it doesn't matter for those who are doing contracting, you're earning big money. Whatever you do, you need to reinvest your money making into something that is asset based. Okay, you can be earning £500, you can be earning £400 a day. That can go within 2 seconds. We will talk about the challenges I faced
yeah,
at time because the road was always not rosy.
yeah,
What I find out is whether it's be a property, whether it's be bond, whether it's in shares you're investing money in, you need to turn your day-to-day money into a capital investment and reinvest your money with that. So in 2004, I made that decision to say, all this money you're making, yes, you're sponsoring yourself to school, you're making money. I wasn't lavish in what I do. So what I started to do is pump my money, and that's why I have this principle, which I call a principle. I call the BIG principle, the big principle, or the BIC principle, which is the business, which is the investment, and for those who are gifted or who are in charitable stuff, that should be your last fence. So I have my three triangles. So everything I do in my life at the moment, those are my litmus tests. If that doesn't fit into my litmus test, I would put it aside. It would not be that important to me. I would just, okay, I hear you, but okay, this does not fit into what I do because everybody should have a story, everybody should have a principle you abide by, and you
yeah.
should always know yourself. So basically, in 2004, I acquired the first property. I think in 2004, those were probably the traits my wife saw in me. That's when I met her. Or that's when we started dating. Obviously, to say by 2006, I was already on the third property.
Wow. And what was the challenges? Uh,
Well, I think I'm going to fast forward. I mean, the time is fast spent. I don't know how many minutes we have left.
we
What, 32 minutes?
got another 10, 12 minutes for you to
Okay,
speak.
I think I should talk about a challenge. And I think for me, in 2006, got married. I stopped being a care worker because I wanted to. I cannot. You can't. Nearly well, um, you can't be going to night job without looking after the mother. I won't say more than that. And in 2006, my first business, obviously, which is the computer repairing, computer business repairing for firm, I began to see a decline because obviously what I was doing, a lot of, big companies like BT started implementing the same principle. So I began to see that decline. So when I got married, my wife said, asked me a question, what do you want to do? Big question. Obviously, I had it on the back of my mind that, what, and I said to her, what, I want to start selling online because I see this is where the world is becoming digital. And this was 2006. That's when I made that conscious decision. And she was like, okay, what do you want to do? I said, I think I want to try selling on eBay and start selling on Amazon. I said, okay, all right. Why that was going on? I remember vividly in 2006, my brother used to work for, it was security doing nights then, and they used to work for a lot of Disney store when they come to the UK and do the show. And when the show was over, they used to pack the DVDs and the CDs. And my brother would just, okay, brought some of them and say, you want to start selling on eBay? Why don't you try it? And I remember vividly listing some of those Disney CDs or DVDs, I should say, or games. And, within 24 hours, I woke up that morning and I think I had about 30 or 35 sales. And I'm like, is this for real? Did you see? And I said to my wife, this is what I want to do. I see the world going in this direction. I see people waking up, buying stuff online. And I began to do my research. And the first disappointment was obviously buying from China. This is where I actually have that. I have what was sent to me